You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to another one of my Death Battle prediction videos. And next time on Death Battle, we have Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls versus Discord from My Little Pony. Obviously, we've known this fight was coming for quite a while now. It was one of the two fights that won the champion poll from last year, so it was literally chosen by all the champions. And I've been looking forward to it ever since. It doesn't strike as much of a personal chord with me, just because I'm not as into these series as some of the other people in this community are, specifically My Little Pony, but I'm still so happy that a lot of people got one of their most wanted fights of all time, because a lot of people did really want it. You know, I'm happy for them, and I understand the hype. I think this could be a super fun fight. I think the tone could pop off. I just think it could be amazing, so I am excited for it, I promise. So I want to start off by saying that I have seen a lot of people on both sides of this debate, often strongly, and I do think that Death Battle could lean either way, depending on how much weight they put on each of their differences. In terms of what they have in common, you know, abilities wise, obviously you have stuff like reality warping, regeneration, teleportation, shape changing, temporal, mental, and energy manipulation, as well as more specific stuff like duplication, dimensional travel, astral projection, and fourth wall awareness, let alone way more. But what separates them from one another is what makes this fight a little trickier to understand. And just because they have a lot of similar abilities description-wise does not inherently mean that the strength of said abilities are equal. We still gotta figure out who's more powerful and who's got a greater reach with what they can do. And I'm not gonna lie, I am a little worried about putting hard labels on these kinds of specifics, because this is a very interpretational fight. Death Battle will go with what they think is most valid, but that might not line up with me, or hell, neither of us may line up with what a lot of you guys have to say, you know, who knows? So any bold claims I make could be invalidated very quickly. That's why for this prediction I'm going to stick to doing what I've done for other similar fights, you know, speak generally when necessary, look at the bigger picture, go with what I think Death Battle is most likely to go with, and hope for the best. So when it comes to specific abilities, Bill Cipher obviously has that whole non-corporeal form versus physical form thing going on, which naturally ties into unleashing Weirdmageddon. He can rewrite physical laws, mess with technology to varying degrees. He has various other forms that he likes to enter, usually dictated by emotions or intentions or sometimes circumstance, and he's also over 1 trillion years old, meaning that he's older than our own universe, and he's traveled to various other universes after breaking free of the dreamscape. There's also that whole thing about him invoking the ancient power of the axolotl so that he could come back after death in supposedly a different form at a different time, but whatever that entails, it obviously doesn't allow him to resume as he was, since he didn't in the show. So even if we're looking at that, I don't think that's going to mean that much. Discord, on the other hand, has a lot of magical abilities, like a stupid amount. He has high levels of chaos, causality, and conceptual manipulation, and this combined with his power nullification has allowed him to effortlessly shut down his opponent's advantages and keep himself out of harm's way, basically making him untouchable. He can create illusionary effects, regenerate his whole body from complete nothingness. He can actively or sometimes even passively resist various physical, mental, or causal-based attacks, and more. He can keep up with presumably massively faster than light characters, and once flew so fast that he traveled back in time. And as far as we can tell, this was done by speed alone. To my knowledge, Bill Cipher doesn't have any kind of physics-breaking feat due to pure speed like Discord does. A lot of his ridiculous speed comes more as like a byproduct of his other powers like size changing, so I don't know if I see Bill Cipher getting the leg up there, or possibly even just keeping up for that matter. And then there's also the fact that Discord can feed off of even the littlest chaos or disorder that ensues around him, and actually get stronger and healthier the more chaotic things get. And unless I'm missing something really big about this ability, like really specific that limits it in a way, or something like that, I don't think this is something that can be easily argued against, or that Bill can avoid. Obviously, the physical side of things is not everything, but if Death Battle comes to the conclusion that Bill and Discord are close enough in power, that could be a big problem for Bill Cipher Cipher moving forward, even more so if Discord is seen as more powerful from the get-go. If Bill's powers are really just a battery that are powering Discord's powers, then Bill is either going to need some amazing trump card that allows him to win in spite of this, or he's going to need to be more powerful than Discord by enough of a margin that he could claim victory more often than not quicker than Discord can surpass him. And that's actually a little difficult to determine. Both of these characters could be seen as being at different levels of power depending on what you think is fair to include for them. You could easily make the argument for both of them being around universal. Bill destroyed his home dimension, which was technically 2D as opposed to our own universe, which is not, but I'm okay giving it the benefit of the doubt for now. And Discord's magic was able to turn the entire universe into frosting, let alone being able to fight characters who decently compare to characters like Celestia and Luna, such as King Sombra. And that kind of magic can affect multiple universes at once. So they might not be too far off from each other when looking at things from that perspective, with maybe a bit of an edge going to Discord. Now there are ways to get both of these characters much higher, but despite the arguments you might be able to make for high tier My Little Pony characters through statements and scaling and whatnot, to my knowledge not much of it compares to the third journal in Gravity Falls, essentially illustrating higher dimensional tiering and cosmology, like significantly more dimensions than just the standard 3, that Bill could reasonably scale to. Without this statement, there's really no way to get Bill this high at all, but it is there. And while I'm usually fine with rolling with so-called objective statements like this until they get disproven, because I see it as the writers outright saying or describing how powerful their character is meant to be, I'm not sure if Death Battle would favor less reliable scaling when there is more reliable scaling they could easily use instead. But if they do roll with it, I'm not sure if Discord could compete with that level of power, even with the highest scaling you could attribute to him. And one last thing I want to talk about is also win conditions that each of the characters have, because that is also a little complicated. Bill Cipher was taken out in a very specific manner at the end of the Gravity Falls show, but aside from a lot of physical attacks, we haven't actually seen him show that many outright displays of specific resistances. Certainly not against a decent amount of Discord's Haxi Arsenal or mental powers. Discord, on the other hand, has shown off a ton of resistances like mental and probability manipulation, corruption, transmutation, magic nullification, complete disintegration, and more. Basically any kind of magic that you can think of from My Little Pony, except the elements of harmony, like when it turned him to stone. And obviously Bill doesn't have that magic. Not saying that Bill doesn't have any way to kill Discord at all, but Discord has resisted a lot of what Bill's got, just saying. So like I said before, I could see either character winning this because it is so easy to have different perceptions here. But I do have to pick one character for right now, and the way I see it, Discord's advantages, while not necessarily major, seem to be more concrete. You know, his likely greater speed, defenses, versatility, and general hacks are pretty well shown outright, whereas I'd say Bill's most obvious edges are probably intelligence and experience just based on his age. Power is the real toss-up for me here, and I think Bill would need to get that advantage pretty sizably in order to fully counter Discord's chaos siphoning, which he could get. If Death Battle decides to use the high-end statement for Bill and give him the win, then I will contently take the loss because I think that is a valid way they could do it. But because Death Battle generally prefers using more concrete evidence and arguments, and because they tend to lean more towards the character who has more arguments in quantity as well, if I really had to predict whether or not they're going to lean heavily into that stuff, my guess would be no. I'm completely done with conditional predictions, by the way, because they're no fun, and even when they actually play out in my favor, like Ant-Man vs. Atom, for instance, it just doesn't feel that good, you know? So I'm just gonna pick one or the other, regardless of what Death Battle says, no conditions here, and my guess right now is that Discord is just the safer character to go with. Although I know I could be so wrong by the end of it. We'll just have to wait and see. But because this fight is so buck wild, I want to hear what all of you guys have to say. Who do you think is going to win? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, maybe even subscribe to the channel as well if you want to see more stuff like this. That'd be so great. That would really help the channel out. But no matter what you guys do, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm getting more and more excited for this fight. I know a lot of you guys are excited as well. It's just a good time. That's it for me. I will see all of you guys in the next video. Peace out.